1941, 1945. Kazakhstan and Central Asia, as part of the Soviet Union, entered the war. Over 2.5 million people from the region went to the front. 1.3 million people were killed during the war. More than 1,000 people became heroes of the Soviet Union. September the 5th, 1942. Summer flew by so fast. It was the hardest summer in my life. During all this time, Vovka, Alibek and I were trying to help others. I became a courier. This is also not easy. At the end of the day, I was so exhausted. But at the same time, I don't feel hunger as much as usual. By the way, our apples and vegetable garden really help out. Does everyone feel so hard right now? The plane caught fire 4 out of 6 times. The situation was catastrophic twice. One man told me that his mother sliced the bread. I think the black one. There were a few crumbs left, and the 3 brothers wondered whom the mother would give these crumbs to. It was a difficult time. I was a kid and had a brother. I don't know his surname. I don't know his name. I don't even know how does he look like.
Можно сказать смело, что Узбекистан и люди, которые здесь проживают.
It's fair to say that Uzbekistan and the people who lived here provided a great support. It was not just support. It was a significant contribution to the victory. The same was done by other Central Asian republics, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. The republics of Central Asia made a huge contribution to the victory in the World War II. From the first days of the enemy's attack, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Kyrgyzstan, as well as Kazakhstan, were refocused on war needs. After the official announcement of the attack, volunteers began to come to the military enlistment offices. From the first days, a significant part of the male population went to the front, not taking into account persons liable for military duty who had already taken part in military battles in the west of the country, according to the law of universal military duty that was adopted on September 1st, 1939. Throughout the war, 1,200,000 people from Kazakhstan joined the military service. 1.5 million people came from Uzbekistan. These are huge numbers, in fact. For example, more than 380,000 people went to the war from Kyrgyzstan, which had the total population of about 1.5 million. It means that every 5th person went to war. The same situation was in Tajikistan and Turkmenistan. Mukhtar Rasulev, a native of Uzbekistan, was among them. In 1940, he was called up to the ranks of the Soviet Army. He studied at the Voronezh Military Aviation School. Initially, the training was supposed to take 3 years, but at the beginning of 1941, after finishing the crash course of separate program for military air gunnery, Mukhtar Rasululli was sent to the front. It was a very difficult time in the midst of the Second World War. Germany almost occupied all territories of Western Europe. The first flight was to Smolensk.
Каких-то там в течение месяца немцы уже, как говорится,
because the Germans were already there.
Итальянском
They were heading towards Moscow.
Москвы. Война была тяжелая. Немец
The war was hard.
был очень
In any aspect, Germans were strong.
в отношениях. Первый полет помню.
I remember the first flight very well. It was August.
Задание бомбить там
The
какой-то
mission was to bomb some positions beyond Smolensk.
Смоленском. Ну что ж, погрузили бомбы
We loaded bombs, prepared for the flight, and flew.
и полетели. Конечно, до сих пор помню, самочувствие было неважное.
Of course, I still remember how bad I was feeling because I was aware of the power of the German aviation.
Немецкую авиацию.
The pilot completed his first mission, but only 5 out of 9 crews returned to base after the battle. Someone's sons, fathers, brothers, and husbands did not return home and forever laid near Smolensk.
Конечно, это действовало на всех нехорошо, ненормально.
Of course, it was scary. It was abnormal,
Да нет,
but there was no other way. We had to endure.
как говорится.
According to historical data, 17% of all the population of Central Asia were called up to the front. Compared to other republics, this was a huge number. Between November 1941 and March 1942, 14 national military units from Uzbekistan alone were formed and sent out to the front. We can proudly say that the Uzbeks participated in all main and decisive battles of the Second World War. The Uzbeks who participated in the partisan movement showed examples of heroism. The fact is that the village of Topivoldeyevka in Belarus was named after our Uzbek partisan Mamad Ali Topivoldeyev. In the early days of the war, the military unit of Mamad Ali Topivoldeyev was surrounded. At the end of 1941, as a member of a small group, he joined the Chekist Partisan Party, where he participated in all military operations, undermined bridges and roads. He managed to derail 19 enemy trains. On August the 15th, 1944, Mamad Ali Topivoldeyev was awarded the title of the Hero of the Soviet Union. The title of the Hero of the Soviet Union was awarded to 338 Uzbeks, 112 Turkmens, 68 residents of Tajikistan, and 73 soldiers and officers from Kyrgyzstan. In regards to the number of the Republic's population, the figures are enormous. Moreover, every second Central Asian soldier returned home with an award.
1945 году, в апреле месяц, мы уже находились на Первом Украинском фронте.
We already entered Germany as part of the First Ukrainian Front in April 1945. There were battles for Berlin.
Берлин. Я уже в это время находился в авиационной разведке.
At that time, I served in the reconnaissance squadron.
Вот. Занимался я разведкой. Значит, вызвали нас и задание.
They summoned us and gave the task to fly to Berlin.
Берлин. Конечно, первым лететь на Берлин.
On the one hand, it's a great honor to be the first to fly to Berlin. But on the other hand, it was scary.
Над Берлин. Уже были над Берлином.
We were already over Berlin and we had to take pictures. It was a nightmare. There was smoke, shooting everywhere.
воздух,
There were a lot of airplanes. Battles were everywhere.
битва. А фотографирование воздушное очень такой своеобразный.
And air photography had specific requirements. One couldn't move left, right, up or down. It was necessary to maintain one line at the same height.
На нас напали, но
We were attacked, but we had more people.
наши
Our soldiers drove enemies away from us and gave us the opportunity to complete the task.
надо было докладывать в штаб фронта полностью то, что видел.
It was necessary to make full report about completed task to the headquarters of the front.
Включая
I turned on the radio, tuned in, and Marshal Kornev was on the line.
Конев. Я растерялся сразу. Маршал сам пришел, как говорится, слушать, как говорится, доклад. Вот. Говорю,
I got lost.
«Здравствуйте, товарищ маршал.
The marshal came to listen to the report himself. I said, "Hello, Comrade Marshal."
Молодцы,
"Well,
ребята.
hello," he said.
Спасибо за
"Well done, guys. Thank you for the good work. We are waiting for you. Have a safe flight."
посадки.
Mukhtar Rasululli participated in more than 100 air battles, made 60 military intelligence missions. He shot down 3 planes. For services to the fatherland, he was awarded 2 Orders of Glory. He had 26 military awards. At the front, every soldier is a hero, the veteran said, regardless of whether there is a medal on his tunic or not. About 115,000 soldiers did not return to their homeland, Kyrgyzstan. Dushankul Shapokov was one of them. He was one of the 28 Panfilov heroes and stopped the advance of the enemy along the Volokholamsk highway. He died having destroyed 18 enemy tanks, along with military comrades at the junction of Dubosekovo, Moscow region. More than 100,000 Tajik soldiers and officers remained on the battlefields. The hero of the Tajik people, Ismail Kamzaliyev, accomplished his feat on the Kursk salient. Turkmen soldier Anaklich Atayev did not see the victory day. Within 2 days of intense fighting, together with his comrades, they managed to repel 7 German attacks involving 16 tanks. Moreover, the Red Army soldiers had only firearms and grenades. He received the title of the Hero of the Soviet Union posthumously. 86,000 of his compatriots also did not return to their homeland. Uzbekistan lost about 420,000 soldiers in the war.
Очень молодой парень Джорахан Усманов, который выполнил очень серьезный
A very young man, Jorakon Usmanov,
награжден, получил,
who performed a very serious combat mission, was evacuated but died because of wounds.
ран.
Jorakon Usmanov died on February the 14th, 1945, just 2 months before the victory day. His compatriot, Ziba Ganieva, heroically went through the whole war. Since October 1941, the girl already took part in the battles for Moscow.
Зеба Ганиева, она женщина, которая была снайпершей. В годы войны очень много участвовала в войнах, очень много фашистских.
Ziba Ganieva, a woman who was a sniper, participated in many battles, destroyed a lot of fascist soldiers, got under shell fire. But she was a woman of very strong will. After the war, she underwent more than 10 surgical operations. She recovered and even defended a PhD thesis.
Даже защитила кандидатскую диссертацию.
November 1942. Autumn is very cold this year. Mom and I cannot heat the stove as much as we need. We have to save firewood. One thing makes me happy. After the summer, we were able to make some kind of stocks, especially a lot of apples, which are the most delicious in our city. In general, life during the war is not different. Everything is still grey. There are almost no men on the streets. This is the worst thing for me. I immediately start thinking about my dad. The only thing that deflects me is the lessons at school. I go there after I deliver all the letters. Our class is studying in the third shift. Yesterday, Maria Ivanovna told us about Tashkent. It turns out everyone supports the front, as we do. In the first months of the war, all cities of Central Asia immediately began to host industrial enterprises and the population from the occupied territories. For example, 30 large factories along with workers were relocated to Kyrgyzstan. By August 1941, about 140,000 residents were evacuated. Uzbekistan became a powerful arsenal of the front. Due to its geographical location, Uzbekistan was a home front country. And from the very first days of the war, evacuated enterprises from occupied territory were coming to Uzbekistan. First of all, there were more than 100 industrial enterprises. These are the Rosselmash plant, Sumy compressor plant, Aircraft Production Association plant named after Chkalov. All labor and economic resources of Uzbekistan were mobilized for the front. On August the 25th, 1941, a government commission was formed in the republic led by Usmon Yusupov.
Все для фронта, все для победы. Вот главные слова Узбекистана в то время были.
Everything for the front, everything for the victory were the main words in Uzbekistan at that time. And Usmon Yusupov, as the leader, emphasized that the front began here.
За каждый грамм хлопка, за каждый грамм пшеницы здесь люди работали.
Here people worked, fought for every gram of cotton, for every gram of wheat. It was very hard. During the war, in Uzbekistan there was another phenomenon, which is the evacuation of the population. During the war, the population of Uzbekistan was approximately 6.5 million people, where more than 1 million were called up to the army. By the beginning of 1942, about 1 million people were evacuated here, including 200,000 children. Mostly specialists of enterprises, scientific and creative intellectuals were evacuated so that they could continue their main activity without stopping in home front. To make it possible, all the necessary conditions were created at the spot.
Приезжали они, как правило, уже полуукомплектованные.
First of all, there were not enough workers in the evacuated enterprises. We had to install this equipment literally in the open air in a short time. We established factories and retrained Uzbek women to industrial worker jobs so that they could take the place of workers who have left for the front. In addition, teenagers also got a fast training. Those who were not tall enough took stools and completed double, triple norms per day. Depending on specialization and the region, 55 large enterprises were evacuated to Tashkent, 14 to Samarkand, 22 to Fergana, and 2 to Bukhara. The agriculture of sunny Uzbekistan provided the front with food. Workers of state farms and collective farms broke the harvest records. All agricultural activities were focused on providing the front, primarily with cotton and silk. And we know that silk is a strategic raw material. They also provided the front with kanaf, as the kanaf factory was evacuated here. But kanaf did not grow in necessary quantity in Uzbekistan. Therefore, it was necessary to introduce this technical crop here and afterwards wait for the results and the yields in order to launch the kanaf factory as soon as possible, because it was a strategic crop as well.
Узбекистан на фронт отправлял большое количество различной продукции. Свыше 4 миллионов
Uzbekistan sent a large number of various products to the front, including over 4 million tons of cotton and about 80,000 tons of rice. Also, there were wheat, dried fruits and fresh fruits. For the continuous work of all sectors, the countries began to rapidly increase the capacities of their own enterprises. Many industrial enterprises and manufacturers in Central Asia started operating during the war. For example, the Great Chu Canal was built in the period of war because it was necessary to provide agriculture and energy. Also, the construction of hydropower plants began at that time. January 1943. Today, a long-awaited letter came from my dad. But after reading the first lines, my mother and I stopped smiling. Dad was in the hospital. It turned out he was wounded on the offensive. He said nothing was wrong, but for some reason I did not believe him. He wrote that he was lucky, but Uncle Kola, with whom he became friends in the war, wasn't. All night I had a terrible dream. I heard explosions. I saw a lot of blood and a soldier's face. "Mother, mother," he shouted. It turned out that it was me who was screaming mother. My mother ran up and began to calm me down. Probably it's a good thing that Dad is in the hospital. He is still alive. This is the most important thing. During the war, Uzbekistan also hosted creative professionals from the occupied territories. For example, wonderful poetess Anna Akhmatova lived in Tashkent. Also, Faina Ranevskaya, a famous actress of comedy, cinematography and theater, was evacuated here, and writer Alexei Tolstoy lived here during these years. Special attention should be paid to the evacuation of children from the conflict zone to Uzbekistan. More than 200,000 orphans were brought to the Central Asian Republic. And of course, a movement aimed to adopt these children began here. We usually say that there was a line for bread and food in other republics, but there was a line for adoption of these children in Tashkent.
Мне было 4 года. Когда война началась,
I was a little girl. I was 4 years old when the war started. We were in the trench. We stayed there for 1 week, and they decided to send me somewhere. I don't know. Do I have a father and mother?
отец есть, нет,
I guess that everyone died on the front. And then they decided to bring me to Tashkent.
или Ташкент привезли.
When evacuated children arrived at the railway station in Tashkent, Shoakmat Shomakmudov and his wife Bakri Akramova welcomed them. A regular blacksmith was one of the first who decided to take orphans to his family. In 1943 alone, the elderly man became the father of 4 children. By 1945, the big family has adopted 15 boys and girls of different ethnicities. Moldavian girl Olga was one of them. Shomakmudov's family named her Kalida.
Я приехала в Ташкенте. Мне Акрамов Бахры встречает.
In Tashkent, Bakri Akramova met me. She had a baby in her arms. She met me and covered me with a large scarf.
Мне дает кружку.
And then they took me home. Mother gave me a mug with milk, tea and sugar.
Выпей
She told me to drink and eat.
и покушай.
I stayed there with Bakri Akramova and Shoakmat Shomakmudov.
Всё, мать Махмудова опять. Будем жить.
Everything for the front. Everything for the victory. Despite the difficulties and hardships, losses and defeats in the home front and on the battlefields, Central Asia and Kazakhstan have made an invaluable contribution to the overall victory. How the country experienced that period, who were the people who gave us a peaceful sky. Look for answers in the project Our Common Victory, to make everyone know, remember and honor.